Good morning, Tom. We're back for another video update. We've come to the end of Q3 of 2021, so we want to do another touch base and give the members of NBMDA an update on what's going on, both in the association, as well as your perspective of what you're seeing in the marketplace. So welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great. Yeah, so these quarterly video updates have been a new tool we've been using to keep our members updated. Also an opportunity to let them know what should be on their radar, any call to action we have for them to take. And also it's been a great opportunity for them to hear from a peer like yourself on just different perspectives from people that operate in different parts of the country. We've been getting great positive feedback on these, so we appreciate you doing them this year.
It's my pleasure to do them. We're all in this thing together, so.
First off, from an NBMDA standpoint, obviously all of our focus and energy right now is on our upcoming annual convention in 3 weeks in Dallas, Texas. And so we are very excited to announce that the planning and execution of that event is on schedule. We have nearly 700 distribution executives registered for the event, so a good turnout and more continuing to come in. We have over 80 suppliers that have reserved a tabletop booth for the event. So a good showing from the supplier base. We have a very strong education program. And so everything's lined up to go. We will have safety and health protocols in place, mask mandate. We'll do social distancing. We'll have the attendees outdoors as much as we can for evening functions. So we're going to make sure that everyone's kept safe and healthy during the event.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Our ask right now of manufacturers is if they have not secured their booth to do so. If they have, make sure their people are registered and make sure they're aware that they have access to the weekly attendee list so that they can be reaching out to distributors who are attending to set up appointments. And distributors, likewise, if they haven't just already registered, they need to do that as soon as possible. And they should be monitoring the weekly registration list so that they can reach out to those suppliers that they're interested in connecting with in Dallas. And we encourage them to also carve out some time for our first-time exhibitors, of which we have about 15 of them. So that's great.
That's fantastic. And I thank all of our manufacturing partners that are participating, because without them, it makes it a little difficult for us. So thank you.
Absolutely. So Tom, we haven't been together as a group for almost 2 years. What are you excited about?
A lot of things. First of all, I think a lot of us look forward to the NBMDA convention every year, and not having it last year. I mean, we did it electronically, but just not the same, right? It's not the same bonding that we have, the discussions, the laughs, the late nights. So I'm looking forward to just getting us all back together. And especially with what's been going on in our business. And all of us are probably having record years because of the tailwind of the economy right now. So I'm looking forward just to see everybody and see everybody in great spirits. So
yeah, it'll be great. So last time we spoke was in June. So tell me how business conditions are currently as we're into the fourth quarter.
Okay. So speaking from our side, and it's probably the same for most that I've spoken with, we're having a record year in all throughout North America. In all segments, it's been absolutely incredible. So, you know, the building materials side, we are setting records unlike we've ever had before, which is just, for some reason, we should be actually sitting back and enjoying it, but you can't because you're just so busy.
Right.
But if we look back at the last 30 years in our records, this is, for each company, hands down, the best performing year ever. So nice. I'm super excited. I'm optimistic, yet cautious at the exact same time.
Okay. So, you know, the hot topic of discussion, you know, throughout this year has been supply chain disruption. From your viewpoint, what is the status of that? And do you see a light at the end of the tunnel as we head into 2022?
Well, if I had the answers to all that, I'd be in Vegas right now. But so the supply chain issues are still very challenging. But the way I'm looking at it, it's becoming part of life, right? I think we all thought they would probably go away midsummer, but that didn't happen. And I think all of us on the distribution side, we've worked closely with our manufacturers, and we know they're doing everything they can possibly to take care of the customers. But it's challenging, and I don't see it going away anytime soon. I mean, because there's so many moving parts between the work shortage, the supply shortage, the container challenges, the truck driver shortage. It's almost like a comedy of challenges. So I don't see them going away anytime soon. What I do see is the distributors learning how to maneuver and operate around the challenges. And again, every challenge makes us stronger, right? And if I just look at our back order log between all of our companies, it's almost equal to the revenue of one of our companies. So our biggest concern is that if the supply chain issues go too long, that people might get tired of waiting. That's the concern we have. But we do know that our manufacturing partners are doing everything they possibly can to make it better. But a lot of this is out of their control. So, and I think most people are understanding of that.
Right. So with such strong demand and with the challenge for distributors being product availability, what kind of pressure is put on the distributor manufacturer relationship right now, and how do you see that kind of playing out as we go into next year?
That is a great question, Kevin. First of all, I think 2020 was a great. It was bad for the pandemic, but it was a great opportunity for our association to come together. And I think the relationships between the manufacturers and the distributors has always been good, but I think 2020 made it great. And I think that helped us prepare for the challenges of 2021 with supply chain. And I wouldn't say the relationships have changed at all. What I would say is the manufacturers understand that the distributors also have to hit a number. And if widget A is not in stock, but we get widget B or C, we as distributors, we may have to do that because we have the welfare of all of our stakeholders at hand, and we have to take care of our customers and our stakeholders. And I think the manufacturers, they have been really understanding of that. And I wouldn't say there's any strain on the relationships because I think the distributors, they understand the challenges. And they understand, some of our manufacturers, they have their salespeople working in their distribution centers. That's pretty unheard of, right? So I think the distributors and the manufacturers, the relationship is strong because they respect the position of both parties. And excuse me, if we have a customer that's got to get a job done and widget A is not available and we may have to substitute with B or C, they've been pretty understanding. Maybe not in all cases, but most of them have been pretty understanding of it. So I would say the relationships are good.
Great. And obviously our event will be a great forum to further deepen those relationships.
Yes. And that's why I really encourage the manufacturing partners and the distributors to attend Dallas in a few weeks. Because with all of the challenges going on in supply chain, you can only do so much on Zoom or a conference call. We have to get back together. And as long as we're practicing the safe social distancing and all the guidelines, I think it would behoove all of us to do whatever we can to be there in person.
Sure. So with distributors understanding just how to navigate through supply chain challenges going into next year, what excites you about 2022?
The unknown. So none of us woke up in 2021 thinking we would have the performance figures we have. And none of us became better at what we were doing January 1st. I didn't wake up January 1st and become a better leader, it was the tailwind of the economy, right? So that was the surprise to 21. 22, I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be another robust year. I don't know if there's going to be challenges in the marketplace. I'm not quite sure. But what excites me is we don't know. But what we do know is we go overcome anything that's thrown at us as an association. And I know that 20 and 21 have been a great foundation. So whatever 22 brings, we'll be able to encounter it.
Great. So in wrapping up, you became NBMDA president in 2020, served a year that was supposed to be a term of 1 year. Then the pandemic hit, and our board all agreed to stay in place for an extra year, which meant you got to serve 2 years as NBMDA president, which will conclude here next month in Dallas. So obviously they were very dynamic, chaotic 2 years with a lot going on. Tell us how the experience was as NBMDA president.
Great question. So I would say personally, it was very rewarding. And I say that because, as Murphy's Law would have it, we go into 2020, my first year in the president role, and we get hit with a pandemic, right? And March 17th of 2020, you and I were sending texts back and forth trying to figure out who's essential, who's not, what are we going to do? And I think that was a turning point in our association. And it showed that when times get tough, we come together. And that was probably the most rewarding part for me, to see all of our distributor colleagues work together. We still do. We still talk to each other, trying to figure out with the vaccines, trying to figure out all this stuff, what's going on with the supply chain challenges. I think the most rewarding part was that we were always kind of friends, both the manufacturers and the distributor colleagues. But I think 2020, we became closer than that. We built a bond. And that's very rewarding. As being someone who's attended NBMDA meetings since Baltimore in 2006 or 7, I would say right now, NBMDA is at its strongest point it's ever been. And a lot of that, Kevin, to be honest with you, is because of you and your team. You are the ones that keep pushing us as a board to keep being available, keep thinking of new things, emerging leaders, all of the stuff. So I would say we're in a position we are today, not because of us, but because of you guys.
Well, we appreciate that. And we certainly appreciate your leadership over the last 2 years. And in closing, we look forward to seeing you in Dallas in a couple of weeks.
I hope to be there, and I hope to see everybody there. It's going to be a great time. Plus, we usually have a good time in the bar area at nighttime. So I think this year is going to be even more special.
Great. Appreciate it. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Kevin.